Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine-chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello everyone, I'm your host Elise, and thanks for joining me today on Morbid Outdoors. I hope you all are doing fine on this wonderful Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Last weekend, outdoors-wise, I went hiking with a friend, and winter hiking isn't something I'm extremely comfortable with because I didn't grow up doing it and I don't have a lot of experience, but I decided to try and winter hike, and whoa, miles seem so much longer in snow and on ice than, without that. And so I had set off to do like a lengthier hike. And then about like halfway through, I was like, oh, this is actually taking a long time. And I can actually come back and do this particular trail next year. So I'm going to force myself to winter hike, but I'm not going to do long mileage just because I don't absolutely love it. But hopefully this weekend I'm going to go skiing and I'm really excited about that. It'll be my first ski of the season. And so that is super exciting. If you guys like winter hiking, let me know what you do to make it enjoyable for you. Like I said, I'm trying it out. I'm going to make myself do it a little bit more. But at the same time, I don't absolutely love it. So trying to get there, who knows? But if you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow. Be sure to tune in on Friday because I have an extra special episode dropping on Friday. So I know the holidays can be hard for a lot of people. Sometimes they're hard for me. And I just wanted to put a little extra something in your feed if you're struggling this holiday season and just to give you something extra to listen to. It's not the normal episode, and in fact, it's the start of something new. So just keep an eye on your feed on Friday. Let's head out to Morbid Outdoors. When a man disappears into the forestland that surrounds his home, everyone is stunned. He knew Great Smoky Mountains National Park like the back of his hand. So how did he go missing with very little left behind? Only one clue was left behind, his idle ATV. Two questions remain. Did he stumble upon something he wasn't supposed to see? And where is he now? Tune in to hear about the disappearance of Michael Heron. I actually have been to Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It's beautiful. I went as a kid, so I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember being in the car for a long time. And I have plans to go back in the future. I feel like now that I've been living out west, I've done a lot of Western national parks, but now I'm gravitating more towards the Eastern ones. So I'm hoping to go in the next few years. And I'm wondering if you guys have any other recommendations for Eastern national parks that are you can't miss. So let me know, but I want to do a lot more Eastern ones. So now for negative reviews. Someone said, hands down worst national park I have been to. Very limited parking for the, in quotes, most visited national park. Also, it must be the most visited because the trails are a joke. This is the Walmart of national parks. Smoky Mountain, you were a waste of time. That was one of the quotes, which is kind of hilarious. Another more eerie negative review was, quote, They are hiding the truth of what happens in this park, ... Do not bring your children here, which is just very interesting. I don't know what that person was alluding to, but that was a 1-star review on Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Another funny review. No smoke, utterly disappointing. You'd think that after 1 billion years, they'd get the name right. Great Smokeless Mountains. Haha, that one's like a sarcastic one. And then another negative review. If you like being in a traffic jam for 6 hours, it's amazing. So I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there are like towns right outside of the Smokies, and those are heavily visited. So yes, there's going to be a lot of traffic and there's going to be a lot of people and no parking. It's not like, a national park like North Cascades where it's not super visited and you can kind of just do whatever you want. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is very, very trafficked and very busy. Great Smoky Mountains National Park was established June 15, 1934. It's just over 522,000 acres, and this national park has parts in North Carolina and Tennessee. The park straddles the ridgeline of the Great Smoky Mountains, part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are a division of the larger Appalachian mountain chain. So the Appalachian Trail passes through the center of the park on its route from Georgia to Maine. And in 2023, Great Smoky Mountains National Park had 13 million visitors. It is the most visited national park in the United States. So if you think about it, actually, it gets twice as many visitors, actually a little bit more, than people that visit the Grand Canyon every year, which is about 6 million. The Great Smoky Mountains was the first national park having land and other costs paid in part with federal funds because all previous parks were funded wholly with state money or private funds. So that's actually a very interesting fact. Major attractions include Dollywood, I've been to that, and the second most visited tourist attraction in Tennessee, Ober-Gatlinburg, and Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies. So there's just a lot of, people might call them tourist traps. There's a lot of museums and all kinds of, attractions, I guess is the best word for it, but tourism to the park contributes an estimated $2.5 billion annually to the local economy there. Now, in terms of first people, indigenous people had been likely hunting in the Great Smoky Mountains for 14,000 years. In the latter 17th century, the Cherokee began migrating into what is now eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina from what is now Virginia, possibly to escape expanding European settlement and diseases in the north. By the time the first European settlers arrived, the Cherokee controlled much of the region, and the Great Smoky Mountains lay at the center of their territory. They called the range Shakanage, meaning place of blue smoke. One Cherokee legend tells of a magical lake called Atagahai, hidden deep within the range but is inaccessible to humans. By 1805, the Cherokee had ceded control of the Smokies to the U.S. government. And let's just call that for what it is. The U.S. government took that from them. There are an estimated 2,900 miles of streams, lots of pretty waterfalls, and lots of historic structures. According to the Köppen climate classification system, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park has 2 climate types, humid subtropical and temperate oceanic. As you can guess, since it's very visited, there are a lot of cars and a lot of cities and attractions, and the park is affected by air pollution because of the increased development nearby. And in fact, in 2004, a report by the National Park Conservation Association said that the park was considered the most polluted national park. From 1999 to 2003, the park approximately had 150 unhealthy air days, the equivalent of about 1 month of unhealthy air days per year. Here's your trivia fact for the day. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most biologically diverse national park in the United States. About 19,000 species of organisms are known to live in the park, and scientists actually estimate that there are as many as 80 to 100,000 additional species may be present. The immense biodiversity is also supported by the rainy and temperate climate. No other location of similar size within a temperate climate is known to match the park's biodiversity. Forests cover about 95% of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It's home to 65 species of mammals, over 240 species of birds, 43 species of amphibians, 67 species of fish, 40 species of reptiles, and 43 species of amphibians. One of the most popular mammals in this park is black bears. Almost all the Instagram reels I see about black bears are from this area. Black bears are very abundant in this area. There are 850 miles of trails and unpaved roads in the park for hiking. And the most frequent destination in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is Cades Cove. And Cades Cove is a cleared valley that provides dramatic views of the surrounding mountains. Cades Cove has numerous preserved historic buildings, including log cabins, barns, and churches. It's the single most frequented destination in the park, so very, very busy. A lot of people go there, and I did see a lot of reviews about how disappointed they were that there wasn't parking there, which, if it's very visited, it probably doesn't have a lot of parking, and you're not going to be able to get a spot. So it just blows my mind that people will leave negative reviews for these great national parks based on parking alone. It's just insane. So, in summation, basically, Great Smoky Mountains National Park has lots of people, lots of attractions, but may not be as national parky as you'd imagine. Now, we're going to be talking about a specific area today, and it's called Happy Valley. And Happy Valley is an unincorporated community in Blount County, Tennessee, with around 500 residents. It's situated in a narrow valley of the same name, Happy Valley, on the northwestern fringe of Great Smoky Mountains on the Tennessee side. So that is kind of where we're going to dial in today. Our story is about a man named Michael Heron, and he went by Mike, so that's what I'm going to call him. He was born on June 15th, 1957. Mike graduated from Lanier High School in Eastern Tennessee, and after high school, he worked for the Park Service trimming trails, then founded a successful home construction business, Michael Heron Builders, with his sons. He enjoyed being outdoors and working on his farm. I couldn't find much information about his life growing up, but in 2008, he was 51 years old and a dad to 2 adult sons whose names are Andy and Matt. Today's case actually starts on Saturday, August 23rd, 2008. Mike had called his 2 sons that morning and told them that he was leaving his condo in Maryville, Tennessee, to go mow the grass at his 100-acre farm in Happy Valley in Tallahassee, Tennessee. He called and told them because of 2 reasons. There wasn't really any cell phone service at the location he was going to be, and since he'd be mowing, he was going to be out of earshot of his house phone. So he had this really good habit of always letting his children know when he was going over there. This is just a safety thing, right? More people should probably observe this kind of routine. His property was near the Great Smoky Mountains National Park Abrams Creek Campground, which it adjoined the park. So I think that this was probably a beautiful and very valuable piece of land for Mike to own, and he obviously took great care of it. It wasn't unusual for Mike to go out there. He went to his farm in Happy Valley most weekends, and he was keen to mow down grass on a neighboring 40-acre property owned by missionaries that had been out of town for a while. So he was going over there this weekend to mow his own grass and also kind of do a quick mow of his neighbor's property because they were out of town, which I think speaks volumes about Mike's character. He's been described as extremely kind and just a nice people person. So after his phone call to his sons, he went to one son's home, picked up the mower, and loaded it onto his trailer. His son Andy actually passed him on the road, saw Mike with the mower already loaded up, heading out to the property. This was kind of like a borrow, we have one, we kind of just share it situation. And at 11 a.m., neighbors saw Mike leave his home on Bell Branch Road in Tallahassee, which is at the Happy Valley location, and he was driving his green four-wheel drive Yamaha Wolverine ATV. He waved to them as he left. Really nothing out of the ordinary, just doing a kind neighborly thing. But neighbors did see him at 11 a.m. that day. Then the next day, on Sunday, August 24th, 2008, friends went to Mike's farm and noticed his truck was parked at the end of the road with the windows rolled down and the trailer still attached. And what's even weirder is that the mower was still on the trailer. This was unusual because Mike normally parked his truck at the end of the road, detached the trailer, and then drove closer to the house. Mike's place was actually close to his parents' house, and his parents actually went to his house on August 24th, but didn't knock or go inside. The day after that, which would be Monday, they noticed his truck was still parked at the end of the road, and so they actually went looking for him on his property. Now, they didn't find Mike, and they noticed that the lawn hadn't been mowed either. Mike's son checked his Maryville condo and found Mike's car and motorcycle in the garage, but nothing was out of place. Everything was normal there. Now, Mike's keys, cell phone, money clip, credit cards, driver's license, cash, and gun were inside his truck in Tallahassee. So there were only two things missing: Mike and the ATV he was last seen on. Now, if we're going to talk initial theories, I'm sure that a lot of people, like his friends and family, thought that Mike had gotten into an accident and was hurt and needing help. Another theory was that he might have chosen to run away. That's less likely, and his family really, they weren't even believing that at first, and they still don't believe that now. So his sons came over. They drove all over the ATV trails and checked the campgrounds in the nearby national park. Like I said, Mike's property adjoined the Abrams Creek campground, so they were really looking all over for their dad, fearing that he had gotten into an accident and needed help. They looked everywhere for Mike, and this is when they reported Mike missing because they couldn't find him anywhere. And this report was made on Monday, August 25th. Now, his sons initially spoke to the National Park Service because the farm is so close to the national park, but not actually in it. So the National Park Service transferred the report to the Blount County Sheriff's Office for the missing persons report. So I think that says a lot about the location of this farm. They were thinking, we need to alert the local authorities, and that would be the National Park Service. But really, since it's not in the national park, that is why it was transferred to the local sheriff's office. The following day, Tuesday the 26th, the missing ATV was found, and it was abandoned and undamaged about a mile from his home. It was parked in high gear on a steep hill in a location that Mike did not normally visit. What's weirder is that the ignition switch was left on, which was very uncharacteristic of Mike. The ATV was located, but there were no signs of Mike. There were no footprints, no bits of torn clothing, no obvious trail through the undergrowth, no blood, tissue, or bones. Nothing to indicate that Mike had ever been there. His sons automatically suspected foul play. They knew that this was not like their dad, and they knew that something was seriously wrong. On Wednesday, August 27th, over 150 volunteers joined law enforcement and search and rescue crews to help look for Mike. Searchers included personnel from the Blount County Sheriff's Office, National Park Service Rangers, Rural and Metro Ambulance Service, the Blount County Rescue Squad, the fire department, and all of the searching was done being horseback, tracking dogs, on foot, drones. They were really putting everything into searching for Mike. And one of the searchers included someone that was over the age of 80 years old. He wouldn't say how old he was, but his name was Grady Whitehead. And if you're familiar with other outdoors missing persons, you have heard Grady's name before. So Grady was a ranger for Great Smoky Mountains National Park from 1955 to 1988. He actually was an expert tracker. He was searching because he had known Mike since Mike was born, because Grady's son, who's also a Mike, and Mike Heron grew up together as peers. Interestingly enough, Grady also searched for Dennis Martin, who disappeared in the Smokies in the late 1960s. Dennis was never found. He was 6 at the time. And so if you've heard of this case, let me know if you would like for me to cover Dennis's case on Morbid Outdoors. Now, in the reporting done by Robert Wilson for Knox News, Grady said that successful tracking is a matter of reading the signs, like bent weeds and bushes, which he said could point searchers in the right direction, and other things like footprints. He said he's tracked people through all types of weather, including heavy snow. Large numbers of searchers and ATVs can destroy tracking signs. And I think Grady might have been hinting at that a lot of the area might have been damaged, and that's why no one was able to find Mike. Now, Grady, obviously, at more than 80 years old, wasn't doing as much as he probably did when he was in his 20s looking for Dennis. But he was still out there because this was what he did for 30 some odd years. And he'd also known Mike since Mike was born. This was incredibly important for Grady. And so that's why he was out looking for Mike. So that was a very interesting interview to read, because Grady is kind of like a local legend in that area. Like I said earlier, Mike's sons immediately suspected foul play as soon as they found the ATV. And Matt Heron said, when Matt was Mike's brother, "Once they took me to where the four-wheeler was found, I knew right away. I thought, yeah, there was foul play involved." Now, that was, like I said, Matt, which is Mike's brother, and it didn't make any sense where and how the four-wheeler was left. And that's why everyone was like, this doesn't make sense. Something had to have happened. Mike wouldn't have put it there. Basically, everybody knew that something wasn't right. It's how the four-wheeler was there. It wasn't on his property. It was actually between his property and the property that I had mentioned earlier that he was mowing for his neighbors. So this was actually about 1.5 miles, maybe a mile up the road. It was kind of in between these properties. It was a 3-minute walk to the national park. So when they found the ATV, it wasn't just that it was it was kind of idling. It had run out of gas, but that it was idling. It was also the location. It was not on Mike's property, and it wasn't on the property that he was going to be mowing for the neighbors. It was in between the two, about 1 mile from Mike's place, a 3-minute walk into the national park. Now, the searching was intense. Like I said, there were a lot of people searching with dogs, ATVs, on foot, horses, drone, etc. And the sheriff's office also brought divers to drag the 2 ponds on Mike's property. The following Wednesday, cadaver dogs were also brought into the area, but they didn't pick up any signs of human decay. And this is where things kind of get sad and dismal. The Blount County Sheriff's Office called off the official search for Mike on Friday, August 29th. And that to me seems extremely quick to end a search. And I'm not sure if they ended it so quickly because there were no signs of Mike and they thought maybe, oh, he just ran away. But Mike's family knew better than that. In January of 2009, another search was had, and an article of clothing near the area where Mike's ATV was located was found, but it didn't come back as a match for Mike. Searchers also found some bones in a fire pit not too far from the ATV's location, but they turned out to be from a cow. So they were finding things, but Ultimately, nothing was having to do with Mike. All these years later, no trace of Mike, his clothing, or his belongings have ever been found. The woods around where the ATV was found, authorities have never ever seen any signs of Mike in those woods. Searches by friends and family have turned up nothing in the years since his disappearance. So, all of that to say, Mike vanished into thin air. No one knows where he's at. No one's seen him. It's literally like he was on his ATV and he just vanished. Mike's sons, Matt and Andy, began organizing an annual hike called Hike for Mike along the trail in Mike's property in Happy Valley. That event continued for several years but has now ended as no new leads have turned up despite a $15,000 reward. The latest I could find was that they had the Hike for Mike in August of 2011, and about 120 people gathered at the Happy Valley Community Club, and 77 of them participated in the 2-mile hike in remembrance of Mike, who went missing 3 years before in 2008. It's been 16 years since Mike was last heard from or seen, and no trace of Mike has ever been found. Like I said, it's quite literally like he vanished into thin air. His family members believe that he stumbled upon something he shouldn't have seen. Others have suggested suicide, but it doesn't fit Mike per family reporting. I think suicide is something that investigators always have to take into consideration, but Mike's family is adamant that is not what happened. And if it was, I'm asking this myself, if that's what happened, where is Mike? Where are his remains? That is also a reason why that theory does not add up. Both of Mike's sons say that he would not have voluntarily abandoned his family. He was looking forward to grandchildren. Andy said, "Dad was big on family. He loved being outdoors and being here on the Bell Branch property." His other son, Matt, said, "We definitely don't think that happened. He was too close to his mom. Me and my brother had just gotten married. There's no reason he would have gotten up and walked. That's one thing my brother and I can clear, that he didn't just make himself disappear." Matt also added, "I think Mike would have been an excellent grandfather. I just know he would. He'd already been talking about how he was going to build my child a cabin on the property and have a pool for the baby. He was going to take that baby up to the pool for a swim. He had a lot of plans." End quote. So, like I said, Mike's family is adamant that is not what happened. They strongly believe foul play. His family thinks that Mike accidentally stumbled upon something he should not have been seen, and someone decided to get rid of him, which is honestly terrifying that could happen. And this is one of those cases where there's no evidence, there's nothing, but we know something happened, and we know it was likely foul play. So let's go over theories. As I stated before, foul play is likely what happened. Some people still believe that Mike might have taken his life, but Mike's loved ones say that he was behaving normally before his disappearance and was not depressed or suicidal. His family also said that Mike had no known enemies, and it's uncharacteristic of him to leave without warning. There were also no financial issues found during the investigation. Something else I want to mention is there have been many strange disappearances from this area around Great Smoky Mountains National Park over the years. Some figure it could be an attack by Bigfoot or an extraterrestrial abduction or other paranormal activity. The lack of any evidence of Mike's disappearance maybe gives credibility to those believing it's not just a case of pot farm smugglers or murders incited by business debts. So basically, we really don't know, but people have started to turn towards the paranormal or supernatural because there's really nothing to go on in Mike's case. If you know anything about Mike Heron's disappearance or location, you can contact the Blount County Sheriff's Department at 865-273-5001. Also, after you listen to this episode, let me know what you think happened to Mike. I think that this is a case that's pretty well known, and so I feel like a lot of people have opinions and theories, and I would love to hear yours. So if it's via email or in a comment, let me know. I want to talk about Mike's case with you. As always, recreate responsibly, and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always that great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.